Who are the Warriors? They're a VFW motorcycle riding organization that's here to not only help the community, but my hopes were to also help all the veterans.
The actual idea came from, again, our founder, Vincent Uribe, another member, Joe Vino, and another one of our members, Joe Vasquez, and also our canteen manager and past VFW Post 101 Commander Tim Fonseca.
When we were always hanging around, having a few beers, talking about everything, once in a while a subject would come up about doing something for the veterans. And I kept hearing that most of my life, and I always wanted to do something for the vets. Because when I came back from Vietnam, nobody reached out or gave us any information about our benefits. So me and Joe Vino, we were having a beer one time and talking about doing something for veterans and trying to help the VFW. And we decided that a good recruiting tool would be to start a motorcycle organization.
There were a lot of guys that were coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan that were coming back with a lot of combat pay. And what they were doing was going out and buying motorcycles, and then they would go out and get themselves injured or killed.
I remember discussing it in '03, and everybody thought it was a good idea, but nobody did anything. And then in '04, me and Jovino were talking about it again, and this time we said, well, let's start today. Starting today, we are going to start the VFW Warriors. And I seen Joe V and Mike Sanchez walking down the stairs, so I looked at him and I said, you guys just became Warriors, you're drafted. And they didn't have any bikes, so I told them you have 1 year to get a bike, but they were drafted. Just as Bear was, he became my right-hand man when I would go to the end of the summer bashes or anything that was going on with MC clubs, to just show off our patch and let them know what we're about. So I would go to him and George would go with me. That's how he got drafted. He didn't know he was becoming my right-hand man, and I had to watch my back. We had to get permission from our president, the commander at that time, who was Tim Fonseca. We talked to him and he gave us the okay, and from there on we went forward. I wanted to leave something here and help a vet. If I helped one vet, I would feel great. But at the same time, it was helping me. And so when we were trying to come up with the name, Jovino came up with the Knights, and I told him, being an infantry, I said, well, why don't we call them the Warriors, since we're military and we are warriors, and that stuck, so we kept that.
When those guys sat down, they came up with the VFW Warriors name brand. They came up with the patches. They came up with the VFW patch in the center, the cross and Malta. Yeah, that was already going, but there was only 4 or 5 at that time.
Well, the beginning was basically we were very small, and the MCs, they didn't really know us hardly at all. They knew some of our members, but when you're out riding, once you put on the patch, you're in their world, and except for some of our leaders, none of us really understood that. We're just out riding around thinking we're veterans and we're badass.
People were leery of us, and the community just looked at us as another bike club. They thought we were an MC, and we tried to let the community know and let the motorcycle club know that, and it's for veterans. If you belong to the VFW, you can join the VFW Warriors. And of course, you have to get permission, the okay from the main group in Colorado, before you can start any kind of club. At first, we were going to be an MC, and the first year and a half, that it looked like that's the way we were going. And even I was for that, but then I started disagreeing with Joe Vino, because I realized that as an MC, you couldn't allow the women veterans to join. And I didn't think about that at first, because in Vietnam, we really didn't have women in combat. And nowadays you do, so they earned the right to ride with the males.
We had humongous obstacles. We had a current president who said he had a chapter. He had like a national rocker above his stuff, that we were nationally recognized. But when other organizations brought up, hey, where's your charter paperwork at? Oh, I got it at home.
Well, as you well know, that can't happen in the motorcycle community. There's certain protocol that must happen within this community to push this thing through. That didn't happen with Joe Vino, and he went out on his own.
You know, they had a coalition of clubs here in the state of Colorado that kind of put the rubber stamp of approval on new organizations, and they came in.
The Colorado COC consists of all the clubs in Colorado, and members pay dues to become a member of the organization, and the organization basically fights any laws that go against bikers and takes the freedom away from bikers.
The actual first patch was comprised of the VFW Veterans of Foreign Wars emblem, and it had a top rocker, which is the VFW Warriors, and then it had a bottom rocker, which was the Post 101 Colorado MC below it. So a three-piece patch designates you as a motorcycle club.
The top rocker represents the club. The actual centerpiece is also a trademark of that club, and the bottom rocker actually represents the area they are in.
Whereas a one-piece patch would designate you as a rider's organization.
We almost like were falling blind for a little while, not realizing what kind of trouble we can get in down the road. So, I mean, we had a three-piece patch, an unsanctioned three-piece patch.
I personally was warned by Veterans MC and also by the combat vets not to fly my colors here in Colorado or Colorado Springs because they weren't authorized. And in fact, I had one member of the combat vets saying, I will personally make sure that the VFW Warriors never becomes a legitimate club here in the state of Colorado.
Hindsight and lessons learned, I'm surprised we didn't get someone really hurt. I mean, we had people pulled over and hassled. We had people taken on Street Bike Fest, hemmed up, hassled.
We had to get rid of Joe Vino in order to still exist.
And then one night, we basically got a vote of no confidence on him. Terry was instrumental on that. We backed Terry up on it. Knives were pulled. Cops were showing up at the VFW post. Yeah. So, interesting. So, moved him on. It was recognition in the wrong way. It was not what we wanted to do. So that's when the senior clubs came out like, listen, you're not rocking a three-piece patch. You're not rocking Colorado territory. You're not rocking an MC. You guys got to rethink it where you're going to, or we're going to basically shut you down. And you don't want to have a talk like that.
I took over, became president for 2 months, and once we reorganized and got the Warriors, we became the Warriors riding organization instead of an MC. And we had our first elections, I should say, in February, I believe, of 2006. And that's when we voted our first new president for the new reorganized Warriors, which was Terry Mullins. Say motorcycle clubs, and let them know what we're about. I mean, you really have to let them see you, and then let the community realize we're a veterans club. Try to change the way they look at everybody.
So we revamped the patch, got it revalidated with on the backing type thing. Still kind of had the three pieces, but had the backing with the goldish around it. It kind of snuck it in there a little bit, and got rid of the Colorado, got rid of the MC, things like that.
When we were trying to promote the actual VFW Warriors at the department level or the state level, there were some within the department that didn't want to see it go through.
You know, there was a lot of conflict because there was a lot of different motorcycle organizations within the VFW, not just here in the West. I mean, there was a big organization down in Arizona and Virginia. They had a lot of power, and the guys that were in those organizations were already national officers. So we had to overcome a lot with that in order just to keep the Warrior name. You know, they wanted us to become the VFW Riders. And I was like, that's bullshit, man. That's what the American Legion are, riders. We're warriors. God damn it, let's keep the name.
The expansion from 101 to 3917 was a pivotal moment in what we were doing. From there, from the 2 posts, coming to a 1-team effort for District 5 was instrumental also. So, and that's where we're at now.
I guess it was 2010. The resolution finally went through, and we were approved as an organization, and we were allowed to keep our name as the VFW Warriors. So I'm damn proud of that.
We were going to memorials. So that was probably the biggest impact we had right off the bat. Going out there and just representing the VFW and representing the fallen.
The Warriors really stepped up to develop a mentorship program where we would grab guys as they came in. You know, we'd hang around Harley Davidson. They'd buy a new bike. Hey, come on out, ride with us. You know, and you know, when you come out of combat, you're used to that adrenaline rush, and so, you know, when you come back into the world, all of a sudden you're like, you know, you've got to have something to replace that. And so people are buying motorcycles so that they can feel that same exhilaration as you feel in combat, but not having the experience on a motorcycle. A lot of them would take it beyond the limits, or beyond the limits of the bike and beyond their own capabilities, and so they were wind up getting injured or hurt. And Terry Mullins was who was one of the original guys, was instrumental in starting the mentorship program, and he went so far as to not just get it started, but get it as an accepted program on the Fort Carson with the blessing of the command down there. But there were other things that we accomplished during those years too that were really noteworthy. One of them was there was a recognition by the VFW and the American Legion here in the state of Colorado that there were a number of veterans who had passed away either at the VA hospital or in a nursing home that had been cremated, and their remains were being warehoused because nobody had come forward to claim their remains. I went up there and testified before the House and the Senate in the state of Colorado about the remains, and it was House Bill 1058. It's a bill or an act concerning the final disposition and the remains of veterans of the armed forces that have been abandoned. So basically it's the Unclaimed Remains Act. And after it got through the House and then was passed by the Senate, I was asked to come up to the Capitol for the signing, and I stood behind Governor Ritter when he signed the bill. He handed me a pen, and he handed me this coin. It's a state of Colorado coin, Award of Excellence, and then Bill Ritter on the back, 41st Governor. A wounded warrior, a guy named Jeremiah Johnson, who had been injured several times. In fact, he had received 3 Purple Hearts and had turned down a 4th. And apparently he came home after doing his recovery, and his house had been emptied and destroyed by his wife and her boyfriend. and that he found their 5-year-old son sitting in the middle of the floor crying. He was 3 or 4 months behind on his rent, and they were getting ready to repossess the house. And first thing I did was contact VFW Unmet Needs program, and we were able to get him the money through National to bring his mortgage current, plus pay an additional 1 month ahead of time. And then we did a massive undertaking. It was basically an extreme home makeover.
So we get down to his house and walk through his house, and it was just terrible. I mean, you walk in there, it smelled, because you can smell the mold. The porch was rotting off, all the grass was dead. It was just in shambles. And I'm like, what are we getting into? I said, well, what can we do? So they had a small budget to get started, so we started rolling with that. So we just started pushing out feelers. We got a hold of a nice lady up in Denver, told her the whole program, what we're getting into. She goes, all right, we'll furnish the house. We were pushing out notes to share out on Fort Carson. On a Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, we'd have 50 guys show up from Fort Carson. What do you need us to do? And then people kept going out. We got Home Depot. They donated a riding lawnmower. We got a lawn place. They donated lawn grass for the whole front yards. Lowe's was instrumental. But as all said and done, that house is really nice. If we didn't help him out, he'd have been a different number. I guarantee it.
We had a number of different members that obviously were in Afghanistan and Iraq, but somebody from the Warriors would be the battle buddy. You know, when you're downrange, you would have a battle buddy up here. Sergeant First Class John Hill was my battle buddy. He was also a member of the VFW Warriors. On October 3rd, 2009, Cop Keating was surrounded by 350 Taliban. This battle lasted roughly 16 hours, and these guys lost everything. The Cop Keating was overrun 3 times. So anyway, John Hill personally led the counterattacks 3 times, and it was the heaviest loss of life in any single battle since the Vietnam War. Out of that, there were 8 Silver Stars, and there were 2 Medal of Honors awarded. I got an email from John that said, you know, nobody knows what's going on here. We're getting the shit kicked out of us and nobody cares. And I took that a little bit hard, because we certainly did care. So I started shooting out emails with a copy of John's letter on there to people saying, listen, we need to get together care packages, and we need to get shit for these people, because they've lost everything that they have. And you know, as the word got out, more and more people got involved, and pretty soon it was close to a national effort. We were able to raise over $100,000 in cash. That's in addition to all the care packages that were being sent over there with you know, new BDUs, underwear, you know, clothing, hygiene products and things like that. But we were able to go to Target, and Target had actually donated $50,000 for us. They said, go shopping, whatever we have in stock, get it for these men and get it back there.
We do a memorial run every year in like the March-April time frame to memorialize those fallen warriors that we've lost over the time period.
The memorial ride is always the first ride of the season, because we want to start out with honor, and honoring our fallen brothers and sisters that have served this country and have served the VFW is the best way to start off a riding season.
We lost 2 members, Lance Wilson, Calf Scout, and Lady Red. Both passed under my tenure as the president, which was another thing that became difficult, because up to that point, the only member we had lost was one of the original members, Bobby Clark.
Bobby Clark is one of the originals, a great guy. He always made you laugh. He was had a big heart.
Bobby Clark was the first VFW warrior who passed away down in Penrose. At that point in time, crosses were put up on the side of the road exactly where Bobby Clark passed away. It has grown and it has become a statewide event. And during this event, we invite all the families and friends of our fallen brothers and sisters so they can see that the VFW warriors still hold them close to their heart and in honor. The VFW warriors believe totally in giving 100% back to the community and supporting the community wherever we need to be.
You know, all of our runs have made money, and we've normally tried to give that to veterans organizations like the Crawford House here in Colorado Springs, the Bruce McCandless Colorado State Veterans Nursing Home, the Pueblo Federal Nursing Home, and we've even pushed that even further out to Walsenburg. Last year we did the Secret Santa run down to Walsenburg, where we, delivered Christmas gifts to the veterans down in that area, even though that's not our district.
Our agenda throughout a year for the VFW Warriors is to hold at least 3 to 4 major runs. One of the runs being the Spring Dart Run, another run being either Mount Evans or Pikes Peak Run, another run being the end of the summer run, and the last run normally is the Vets for Vets run. All these, and 100% of the proceeds from all our runs go to help a veteran in need or veterans causes.
Mount Evans, that was our big ride back in the day, and that's like a 6-hour, 7-hour epic journey through Deckers, and it was crazy. It was fast, and every time you hit a curve you thought you were going to die because you're trying to keep up with the pack, which shouldn't do. So I didn't go on that ride for another 2 years, and then I ended up leading that ride. But we've also done the Four Corners going down to Mancos. There were like only 2 years ago, I think we took over the whole hotel in Mancos, and that was a party for a weekend because we had the whole hotel, didn't have to worry about keeping anybody up or nothing like that except ourselves.
We were always leading the American Salute to Veterans Parade in Cripple Creek every year. Then we also somehow got put in charge of, doing all the guard rosters for the Vietnam Veterans Wall, the traveling wall there in Cripple Creek.
We do the stand down, okay? Deer Slayers is mostly in charge of that now, but the stand down helps the homeless veterans, the local homeless veterans. And just recently, the Defender of Freedom Ride, which Brian West started, I think, 9 years ago, and he had the Warriors lead that ride out. That's the longest escorted ride in Colorado, escorted by the police, and the Warriors lead out that ride. That one, the last 2 years, I think that money has went to the homeless veterans here in Colorado Springs.
That's what the VFW Warriors are about, taking care of our own and taking care of the veterans. And even if you're not a member of the VFW Warriors, if you're a veteran, you're still one of ours. And it's, that's kind of been the focus of the group since its inception. We've been concerned about the welfare and the well-being of our soldiers, and especially the soldiers that are coming back that have been in combat zones and have suffered and sacrificed a lot.
Who are the Warriors?
All the Warriors are the motorcycle arm of the VFW, and we're family. I really feel close to a lot of the members in that organization. We're all brothers under arms.
It's a great organization, it's great people, and a great mission. I'm proud to be a warrior.
But the VFW Warriors for me is a group of like-minded individuals that have come together to help servicemen in whatever way that we can.
It's a great organization, and I'd just like each and every one of you to remember that what we do here now in this life echoes in eternity.
They're really gone beyond and above. It's just, I'm really proud to see that what the things they do to help the community and help veterans, and just to get everybody together. You don't realize how you miss being so close in the military until you get out, and it's different. It's just you feel alone, and so joining the VFW and creating the Warriors made me feel like I have a family.